Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? It is Suuuper Wildcard Weekend, and we are here on an early Saturday morning. I am very fucking excited. I am ready for some playoff football. It's been a great season. A lot of parity in the NFL, but your boys still pulled through with some very respectable numbers on the bets and the picks. But we have got a whole new season starting up this week. We've got playoff football. Everything fucking changes, and I am pumped to fucking be here. It is my birthday weekend. The 16th is my birthday. I'll be turning 35. So after this is done, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to shower. I'm going to put some fucking sleeves on, and I'm going to get ready to go out and enjoy a nice out with the lovely producer, Amber. We're going to leave the kids at home. So I'm very excited for today. We're going to maybe hit up the casino. Maybe I'll win a little bit extra money because been doing pretty good on the bets. I hit some decent little picks. I was 2 points away from hitting a $3,000 parlay on basketball. Did, however, back it up with a teaser, so I did win some money off of that. But, man, I'm ready to get this thing started. Evo, how is your weekend going so far? Has it really started yet? And any plans for the weekend?
Yeah, it's still pretty early. It's only around 11 o'clock here local in Arizona, so it's not in the afternoon like it is there for you yet, but super excited because we do got football, brand new football season, Suuuper Wildcard Weekend. We are down to the nitty-gritty of football, and this is where, every snap counts, every snap matters, so it's a lot more fun, I guess. Even if your team is not in the playoffs, this sort of football is more fun because you're not being inundated with a whole bunch of games every single weekend. You can actually sit down and watch like each of these games because they're not going on at the same time. Get all the different drama and stuff that happens with it. So that's a lot of fun. As far as plans for the weekend, I'm just going to sip some beers, watch some football games. We got Monday off because it's MLK Day. So I didn't know that until yesterday. So
very nice. So that's always nice when you find out 3-day weekend is coming.
Yeah. So super stoked about that. I'm just going to kind of chill and watch some football and maybe knock some chores out around the house or something. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I've had about enough of fucking chores around the house. Obviously, we just moved into this new place. It is very nice, but putting up curtain rods and fucking hanging TVs, setting up the whole studio down here. And we still got more shit coming. We got another couch coming to put in the basement to go out in front of our new badass 86-inch television, which is way too fucking big. However, it is awesome. So we got a lot of decorating, other little random shit to build and do. But I understand the whole chores thing. I've had about enough chores, though. I'm ready to get into the weekend, let the weekend kind of fucking rip. Got myself an ice cold beverage in case anybody decides that they're going to call in. I believe he knows who I'm talking about. Torres, if you are watching currently, I expect a phone call. I would imagine that we'll definitely hear from Joe Rockstar today because his boys are playing this weekend. But we got a fun show. Let me send out this last thing, and then we'll kind of get into the shit that we normally get into. All right. Evo, you got anything else before we kind of start hopping in? We'll talk a little bit of youth, and then we'll get into some of our other little menial things, and then we'll start hitting fucking Suuuper Wildcard Weekend.
I'm ready to rock, boy. Let's roll.
All right. So youth sports-wise out here, still got wrestling going on. There's not really much to report. The boys are doing well. They've won every duel they've been to. They won the one tournament. Graydon is doing all right. His last match, he wrestled to a draw, which is tough. But hey, listen, first year doing wrestling, I expected it to be a little tougher. I remember my first year of wrestling, I got my fucking dick kicked in basically all year. And then my following year, 8th grade, I was first or second at every tournament. So, I mean, it's going to be a learning process. But we'll have baseball starting up here in the next couple months. I am trying to coach. I have signed up to coach. I have also signed up the show to be a sponsor of one of the youth little league teams. So hopefully that all works out. We'll have a bunch of youth baseball players out there rocking these two beautiful fucking faces while out there hitting dingers and just fucking pimping doubles into the gap.
Yeah, it won't be too long before we're on a NASCAR team, I'm sure.
There we go, NASCAR team. That'd be fucking dope. I mean, I don't know if our brand is going to play very well with that crowd, but
I mean, gotta spend $2 million to get one of our normal logo stickers on rear quarter panel, like in a wheel well. But we'll be there.
Somebody better hit the fucking lottery if we're putting a sticker on a car for $2 million.
Hey, to the moon or whatever. We're gonna invest in some FTX or something, and SBF our way all the way to the fucking moon.
Hell yeah, man. So yeah, I'm excited for baseball season to get around. Wrestling is cool and all. It's a very good skill for Graydon to have, but I'm ready for baseball season. I'm ready for it to warm up a little bit, and we can get the fucking ground laid and graded at least, or we'll have to go out and find somewhere. It's about time to start the throwing program, getting ready for the season. If you guys have kids that do youth sports, or if you know anybody that does youth sports, they need to be throwing before baseball starts. You got to get that arm warmed up. You got to get them stretched out. That way they can make it all the way through the season, throwing a lot during practice and games. That's just that's Coach Mike advice. If you guys have kids that are in youth sports, get them throwing early, probably at least a month before. That way their arm is stretched out and ready to go. Outside of that, I'm about done with youth sports. You got anything to report going on out there in beautiful Sierra Vista, Arizona, where I'm sure it is much fucking warmer than it is here?
No, not much that I'm tracking. I saw something about one of the local teams around here is going to be featured on ESPN or something like that in a game, a basketball team. But other than that, not tracking too much. I've just kind of been focused on football, man. Laser focused on this wild card.
All right, perfect. And guys, if you notice me just staring slightly above the camera, that's because everything in here is now set up. My TV is on the wall. It is right there. So I can actually see it. I don't have to turn and look at computer screens, but I'm going to be slightly above the camera. So I'm not staring off into space. I have not taken a large portion of baked goods this morning. So that is not why that's happening. All right. I know where the camera is. However, my TV's up here. So, since we were just kind of talking about baseball, let's get this fucking story out of the way. The story that will absolutely not go away. Carlos Correa. He is no longer going to be a Met. He was going to be a Giant. That didn't happen. He went to the Mets. That fell through. Now he's back with your boys. He's back with the Twinks up there in Minnesota. 6-year, $200 million. I think still too much money. Too many years, especially considering the problems that have happened with the medicals, with the physical. It's why he's not a Giant. It's why he's not a Met. And there is apparently some clause in his new contract that can get him out or the team out if the medicals come back real bad. Obviously, this is pending physical.
Physical passed.
Okay, past physical.
Yeah, he might have failed the physical everywhere else, but up in the North Country, they don't give a shit. You can play ball maybe with one leg or whatever. You're playing. We got you. They offered $40 million above what was being renegotiated there at the Mets. And so he just went to where more money. Yeah.
It went to the money.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, get your bag, Correa. Go get your bag. Go out there and play and fucking prove me and Evo and a lot of other people who know baseball fucking wrong that you are going to be a all-star caliber player and the injuries won't be a problem. But that we're very much in a wait and see aspect on what's going to happen with Carlos Correa and that whole saga. But that's really the only baseball news. It's the story that will not fucking go away from baseball. I'm tired of hearing about Carlos Correa and his millions of dollars that he can or cannot get. I mean, he signed contracts for like $850 million this offseason, and he's going to end up with 200 over 6. So that's, I mean, it's tough, but hey, 200 over 6 is good fucking money, no matter where you get it from.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. It was of him or the contract. I mean, it was a desperation move by the Twins. I think they felt like they were left out, outside looking in on this off-season free agent market. So they needed to do something, and it's one of those addition or subtraction by addition type situations, in my opinion, overall long term. But is what it is. I'm not having super high hopes for the Twins this year. We'll see. They'll probably be like one of those middling, somewhat competitive teams.
So one more quick thing on baseball. We were going to get off of it real quick. Trevor Bauer is now a free agent. He has cleared waivers. We'll see if anybody picks him up. I don't have high hopes for him getting back on a team, at least not in the near future, until maybe some injuries affect some teams. But I got nothing else for baseball. We're not talking NBA today, even though I had a good week of NBA betting. So let's fucking start talking about football. Last time we were here, we prefaced that, hey, there was a national championship game. One of the teams played in a national championship game. The other team fucking didn't. Georgia is insane, outright dominant. They beat the absolute piss out of TCU. I think final score was 63-7. It was not fun to watch. I hung on for as long as I could. I was trying to catch up, watch Pat McAfee and the boys. They had a simulcast on the sidelines. That is the only thing that really kept that game interesting. But yeah, it was not a good game.
Unless you were a fan of Georgia, even then it wasn't as much fun. But unless you're a fan of Georgia, it was just not a very fun championship. When one team beats the absolute brakes off the other, it's one of those where, like, by the time I started tuning in, I saw the score and I turned it off pretty much immediately. It was. You like seeing competitive championship games, a good back and forth, or at least a score differential that is something that can be overcome, because that sort of a score is not what you would think you would see in a championship, where it's supposed to be the best two teams in the nation going against each other. So, I mean, congrats to Georgia. We know from last year that they're a phenomenal team. This year, obviously, phenomenal team. And it just looked like a mistake had been made.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people are saying, myself included, that the national championship game took place the week prior. Ohio State and Georgia. That was the best of the games. That was probably the two best teams in the country. In my belief, those are the two best teams in the country, and Ohio State kind of proved by hanging around and really putting Georgia to the test that they were in that top tier, that top echelon. But yeah, not great. Good football season for college football. It ended the way a lot of people expected, though.
If we want to parlay this into NFL football, though, is you go back and you look. Michigan obviously beat your Ohio State team, and that was a battle.
It was a battle for a half, and then they kind of took it to us in the second half.
Sure, but it was close and competitive for a while, right? Yeah. And then you've got the week prior to the national championship game where TCU and Michigan are going at it, and Ohio State and Georgia are going at it. But then when the two winners of those come together and play, it's just a complete outmatch. It goes to show you that some teams just go against other teams better.
Yeah. Matchups matter. It's not like, okay, well, this team beat this team, so they should beat this team. That's not how this works. And that's going to be a big theme when we talk about the fucking playoffs today, is it's not all just, oh, well, they beat this team and this team beat this team. So ergo, vis-a-vis, they should beat this team. That's not how fucking playoff football works at all.
Yeah, it is not just who has the better record is going to win.
Nope. It is a wildly different season when we get into the fucking playoffs in the NFL. We're going to talk a lot about that today, but hey, Georgia, great job. National championship game took place a week prior. Ohio State did great. We saw big time performances from some guys that we're going to see in the NFL, namely CJ Stroud. So I've been kind of getting on the Will Levis train as the best quarterback in this draft. Now I did not watch Will Levis's bowl game. I'm not even sure he played. But what I did see was a surefire number one pick play for Ohio State and CJ Stroud. He was fucking lights out and against a very good Georgia team. So we're going to start probably getting into a lot more film breakdown over the next, after the playoffs are done. I think we're going to take a week break, give ourselves a little week to reset, recharge, and then we'll start getting into off-season talk, free agency, and start breaking down these guys in the draft. But CJ Stroud balled, and I would be willing to bet he will not come back unless NIL money says, hey, you know what? We can keep you in college for a little while longer and still get you paid. We'll see how that works out.
And that's all good and great. But when you have the chance to go into the NFL this year as the number one overall pick,
which I think he might be in position to be right now.
Right. Look, you're talking even top 5, top 10 pick, which he's for sure going to be going in there unless it comes out that he's been hanging out with Deshaun and getting massages or something. One of those situations. He's going to make hella endorsement money, hella contract money just on that rookie contract. And more than likely future contracts. He's going to make way more money long-term if he were to go to the NFL now. An NIL deal would have to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, he's making over $1 million now in NIL, but $1 million is nothing compared to what he'll get as a top 5 quarterback fucking draft pick.
Absolutely. So I saw a story about that, like, oh, they could pitch a big NIL deal to keep him there. And it's like, it ain't going to happen. An NIL deal ain't going to match an NFL contract.
The only thing that keeps him in college is the desire to win a national championship. That's it. That's the only thing to say that I won a national championship in college. I think that's the only thing that keeps him there. And I don't know if the desire is that great because, I mean, it's cool, but we see guys opting out of games. Now, they're not necessarily opting out of the playoffs, but we've got a lot of guys opting out. I think that he's probably coming, and good for him. Go get fucking paid. I know a certain fan that would love to see a CJ Stroud somehow fall down to number 4 because that Indianapolis Colts need a quarterback real fucking bad, and I think they're tired of the retreads. They don't want Derek Carr. They want a CJ Stroud or one of those guys, so.
Fair enough.
All right. With that, let's start talking about the NFL. Let's get into our previous picks, and we'll do a quick recap of games from last week. But, man, we killed last week, and we did great on the season.
Yeah, as far as betting lines go, we did real good this year. Last week especially, but if you've been following along with us this season, and if you were making like individual game bets and sometimes some of these parlays, you probably are sitting on a pretty decent bet of money, given that you put in a decent amount. But we're going to go over our percentage totals here on how we hit the entire year, and it's pretty damn good. And you keep in mind, professional gamblers are expected to hit 55%.
Yeah, you have to hit at least 55% if you're going to actually make any money. Because of the way the odds work. You guys saw that the other week when I tallied up my totals and money, and you got to hit at least 55% if you're going to have any chance to make any real money. And then you really got to be good with your spreads more so than your money lines. You can make money on the money lines, but sometimes you have to take a flyer, take a upset pick, or pick those close games. But this last week, man, we fucking crushed it. Both of us, 13-3. I hit 1, 2, 3, 4. I hit 5 picks against the spread. You hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks against the spread. So very, very good week. We both missed on the Chargers. Chargers kind of came out, laid an egg. I missed on the Seahawks. I thought they would cover. The Rams played them tough, man. Baker really kind of played himself into an opportunity to play against somewhere else next year. I'm not sure if it'll be on the Rams if Matthew Stafford decides to come back. If Stafford does not decide to come back and they bring Baker back, I am not sure he will have the same offensive coaches that they have had before. There's reports that Sean McVay is done. He is going to be
He's
looking
not.
to maybe go to TV.
Yesterday-
I don't think he's done
came
either.
out. He came out yesterday and said that he has decided to come back as the head coach. That's official from Adam Schefter.
Well, he did give all of his other coaches permission to go seek employment elsewhere, which obviously, it makes you nervous. Like, hey,
Yeah,
he might not fucking come back.
And for what it's worth, he did that right after the game, basically last week.
Emotions are high.
When he wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he came out with that decision yesterday, said, I am coming back. And I think that means that all of his coaches are going to come back unless they are able to make the jump to another team as essentially a head coach. Most of them are going to be looking for that.
You could see a position coach moving up into an offensive coordinator role, or a passing game coordinator take an offensive coordinator role.
Yeah, like potentially. And that's so. And to be completely honest, and I had spoken on this on the Facebook page yesterday when he announced that he was going to be coming back. My hope, honestly, was that he left. I like Sean McVay. I like the tree that he's created. I like the type of brand of football that he plays.
I know you're a big fan of KOC, obviously.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen him dip out for a couple of years, go to TV, and then when you have a team that has a couple young pieces on it, let him come back to the NFL and then take that team, running.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. It also would have freed up all those other coaches on his team to go elsewhere and see how well this tree actually bears out. Because, like I said, KOC, I love him, came from that McVay tree. You got Brandon Staley, who puts together good teams, but he's a bonehead. He's a fucking dumbass as far as a head coach. So he's probably much better suited to just be a defensive coordinator. Yeah. You've got tons of situations like this going around. Let's see truly how his tree shakes out. And the biggest thing for me is Raheem Morris as the defensive coordinator. Yeah. He would stand a good chance to pick up a head. Like, he was getting looked at as head coach, coach last year. Yeah. He interviewed with the Vikings, and it basically came down to Raheem Morris and KOC, and Raheem ended up backing out and saying, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing DC stuff here because we were leaning towards an offensive guy in KOC.
Right.
I would love to see those guys reunite. If Raheem deserves a head coaching job, in my opinion,
too,
and he definitely should get looks this year. But defensive head coaches are becoming fewer.
Not high commodity.
Yeah, they're becoming fewer, and I don't know that the race stuff plays into it. It absolutely should not, but you do see a lack of head coaches of color. Maybe that plays into it. I don't know. And I know that it would be a short-term thing, but I would love to have Raheem come over and be our defensive coordinator, because regardless of how this season turns out, the only way that Ed Donatell maintains his job, in my opinion, is if somehow the Vikings make it to the NFC Championship. They have, according to PFF, with its flaws, they've got like 7 or 8 players who are considered or graded above average to premier starters on their defense. Yet we are a bottom 5 defense. I think bottom 2. And that comes down to schematics.
Yeah,
it does. And so if you're not able to fix that with as good of players as you have, it's a schematic thing. You got to bring in someone else who can do the job better. And I fully believe that Raheem Morris could do that. I really like him as a defensive coordinator. So I would have loved to have brought him in. He's not going to make a lateral move from the Rams.
Yeah, there's no reason to, really.
Yeah. But McVay has said he's coming back. So
okay.
We'll go with that there, I guess. So
the Rams get the cover in that game. They did not win, but they played tough, man. That team fought down the end. That's why we kind of got off on that sidetrack. Is Baker played himself into another contract, and if McVay is back, say Stafford doesn't come back, or Stafford does come back, if I'm Baker Mayfield and Sean McVay is staying, I'm trying to re-sign and fucking with the Rams for sure.
Yeah,
because he looked the best he's looked in his career.
Also, he had also said earlier, despite his wife kind of wanting him to get out, he said, "Yeah, I'm going to play again." So, to me, if McVay's there, that means Stafford's back. That means Aaron Donald doesn't retire. Jalen Ramsey is a bit of a question mark right now, from what the reports that we're seeing is some of the social stuff. I think he'll
be back. I think they're going to have to restructure that contract, though. That's
they're going to have to do a lot of shenanigans in order to try to make a halfway competitive offensive line alone.
Yeah.
Like
there's some guys that are going to get restructures for sure. They're going to have to, or they're going to be post June 1 cuts.
Yeah. So it'll be a really interesting year. I don't expect a lot out of the Rams, to be completely honest. I think that if they are completely healthy and they make some decent draft picks, they can probably get to a mid team that can knock off some really good teams. But they are just in a purgatory of no picks, no cap. So it's going to be a really tough uphill battle for them, which is why it's surprising to me that McVay came back, because if McVay doesn't come back, you see those coaches dart. You see a lot of those good veteran players that are the only core left of their team probably calling it. I think Stafford,
and then you also looking at the front office is looking at guys that are not ready to retire. How do we flip them and get some of these fucking picks back to begin this rebuild?
Yeah.
But, so Seahawks don't cover. Do get in because, well, we'll get there in a second. We both missed on the Cowboys. Cowboys laid an absolute fucking egg last week. And Sam Howell, what was your take on what you saw from Sam Howell? Because I liked some of the things I saw. Big arm. He's got some accuracy things that I think he needs to work through, but I didn't hate what I saw out of Sam Howell.
No, I really liked it. He looked, for his first game as a rookie quarterback coming into that situation, looked really good. That's a big time divisional game. He looked really good. Those are things that can be worked out. And you know that he's not getting the time of day that he needs to truly develop week to week in practice, because he ain't high on that roster. You've got Carson Wentz, you've got Taylor Heineke, and then you've got Howell. And the other two guys, they're getting all the looks because they're giving you the best competitive advantage to win week in, week out. Yeah. Howell's a development late round pick.
Yeah.
Howell's
getting maybe 10 reps a week. No, he's probably getting more than.
He's getting a lot of practice squad time.
He's getting 15 reps a week, maybe, with running with the 2s and 3s. He's getting no time with the 1s as a third quarterback, and he's getting scout team, so he's running other teams' shit. Like,
yeah, but
to do what he did looked pretty good.
Yeah, that's if I am a Commanders fan, that gave me my excitement going forward.
Absolutely, because you know what we can do? We can come in and we can have Taylor Heineke and we can have Sam Howell compete for the starting job next year. We can figure out exactly what we got in Sam Howell. We know if Heineke wins, the team likes to play for him. And what we can do is dump this incredibly bad contract that we have with Carson fucking Wentz.
Yeah, Carson Wentz, the coach killer. They fired their offensive coordinator there in Scott Turner. How many coaches has that guy gotten fired? Like, and how many people has he gotten fired?
3 that I can for sure. Peterson, right? And now is offensive coordinator.
Yeah, when is the league gonna decide that this guy is just bad? Like, just fucking bad. Like, I would say that he plays into the Frank Reich firing to an extent.
Oh, 100%. I'm absolutely counting Frank Reich as part of the guys that he got fired, because Reich is the guy who brought Carson in.
When is anyone going to listen to us? He's just not a good quarterback. I think that, he is career backup at best at this point, and I wouldn't even touch him at what he's going to be wanting for a contract at this point.
Nah, because he's probably going to command 15 at least.
And props to Taylor Heineke, because Sam Howell got to play this game, because Heineke was slated to start and went to the coach and said, this guy deserves a shot. Heineke, a guy who's not guaranteed a roster spot either. Like, as a backup level player, fringe starter, you aren't guaranteed the money. You aren't guaranteed a contract. Taylor Heineke will be on an NFL team next year for sure.
100%. It should be. That is a teammate to the max. Yeah. Like you say, give the kid a shot, knowing that he could take your job that you may or may not have. Like, it's
Heineke's a fucking dude. I love the kid. So good on him for getting Howell out there and pushing the team to put Howell out there. And obviously it looks pretty good for the Commanders in that respect. I don't think that they need to focus on a quarterback this year.
Yeah, I would not try to take a quarterback this year based on where they're drafting. I would look at other things and allow yourself, your team, your coaches to evaluate Sam Howell. And then you keep Heineke on the roster. That way, if Howell doesn't have it, you know that Heineke can come in and play some games and you can win some games. That makes perfect sense to me. Now, will they do that? I don't know. But Cowboys lay an absolute fucking egg. The only other game that was missed, so I missed on the Seahawks. You missed on the Browns. The Browns also laid an absolute fucking egg. We have so many question marks on this team on who's even going to be on this fucking roster next year. I know Jadeveon Clowney won't fucking be there. But there's going to be some turnover, quite a bit of it. We are in the search right now for some defensive coordinators. One of the first guys we interviewed was Brian Flores, and I hope to God that's who we decide to bring in. I would also be good with Jim Schwartz, good defensive coach. Had a little bit of success up there in Detroit, which is not easy to do, but apparently it wasn't enough success for Detroit.
I mean, he's been a relatively solid defensive coordinator. Head coaching stuff aside, he's at least put out competent defenses and sometimes really good defenses. So that's a solid hire. And Flores, when I saw that, I was like banging the table. I was like, yeah, I'd want that guy too. Like bring him over to the Vikings.
I want Brian Flores. It sucks that he got out of the building and he's not already on the contract, but you don't typically hire the same day you do the interview with your coaches. But
it's super early. Early right now. A lot of these things aren't going to start happening until maybe 2 weeks from now. You got
to imagine that Brian Flores is got to be high on everybody's interview list.
I would assume so. That's if we look back in previous years, you start to see some of these teams with head coach vacancies. They start going after their head coaches in the next 2 weeks is when you really start to see movement. I believe it's the 17th is when like Sean Payton can start actually taking the interviews. He's got them scheduled, but he can start taking them then. That I remember the little bit of anxiety last year where the Vikings hadn't hired their head coach yet. Until after the Super Bowl because KOC, they basically had everything done with KOC, but they were like, hey, we're not going to do this until after the Super Bowl so you can focus on the Super Bowl run. Classy fucking move. but a lot of teams will have already gotten their guy by the time the Super Bowl happens. So it is definitely worth us talking about here, probably starting a little bit more next week as to which teams have vacancies, which teams should be taking which guys, who they're looking at, things like that. I mean, and I'm sure it'll still get brought up some here. We've got a lot of vacancies as of right now and potentially some more that could be coming with possibly the most enviable spot being Arizona. And that's kind of where I think that Peyton could end up going. And I talked about this on the socials as well.
Man, that's a hard sell for me.
Well, what's a better spot? Okay, because of all the teams that are looking for a quarterback, the only one that has upside potential, and I'm not necessarily believing that personally, but if you're looking outside upward potential at quarterback on a quarterback locked in on a contract, it's Kyler Murray, right? And Sean Payton has a little bit of a hard on for Kyler Murray if you look at some of his comments when he was coming out in the draft. Otherwise, you've got Carolina. They don't have shit. You've got Denver. They basically don't have shit unless you think you can somehow revitalize Russ.
You got to find a way to fix Russ. You know what I think Texans, the best job is? No.
Colts?
Yes. I think the Colts is the best job. Because
Colts is a good job if you want to take a first-round quarterback.
Yeah. If you want to build a quarterback, that's the spot you go. If you want a chance to stick around and pick your guy and build from the ground up, just coming in, that's the place that I go is Indy.
Yeah. But if you look at the Cards, they do have a lot of guys that they can ship out. They've got some young guys with talent. They've got a quarterback.
They're talking about shipping out D-Hop.
They are, but he's in his 30s. He's going to start to go off a cliff here.
I don't know about it.
It could be a hill, a downward hill, but still. You trade D-Hop, and he's probably worth at least a second-round pick, if not maybe one first-round pick.
You probably get a 1 and a 3, I think.
Maybe
a 1 and a 4.
That's good to work with. I just think for a Sean Payton type who's already got what sounds to be a rock star squad of guys who are going to follow him. There's no GM there. You don't have head coach czar roles much anymore, where the head coach actually has full GM control as well, other than in New England with Bill Belichick. So if he wants to do that, that's where he can jump in and become that czar. And I think that plus the quarterback makes it an enviable spot for a guy like Peyton, because who wants to go into Denver where you're lacking picks, you're lacking a quarterback, you've got
good defense,
but some offensive weapons, but you are so handcuffed by that quarterback situation, and you don't know what's going to happen, like in the short-term future. And the short-term future for new head coaches, that's your make or break a lot of times. Like you'll be lucky to last 3 years if you have 3 losing seasons, unless you're showing like true building. Carolina, not a great situation. I mean, that is kind of a blank slate type of team. Indy is good if you want to go out there and get your guy at quarterback, but still, I'm not super sold on it. I think Indy's probably the second best spot, but I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that are going to be looking for head coaches or need head coaches. I mean, the Texans, garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So we'll definitely get into the head coaching stuff here going forward, but expect
all right,
some of those chips to fall.
Yeah. So we miss on the Chargers. They get into the playoffs. I missed on the Seahawks on the -6. They get into the playoffs. Cowboys -7. They're in. Browns +2. You missed. They're out. And a game that we both got right. Let me go ahead and pop this up here real quick. That I know everybody was very excited to see what was going to happen. The fucking Lions. The reason the Seahawks cannot cover, they can barely win and get in, is because the goddamn Cowboys, the Lions beat the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is done. He is out of the playoffs. It's been quite a while since we have not seen Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. I'm going to stop sharing this now. And I mean, I was pumped. I was very excited to see that the Lions came out and played a very good game, good enough to win. And I love Dan Campbell's comments. Listen, we're not in, but we don't want them to fucking go either. So I know you're excited that they are not there. A lot of question marks around Green Bay. What's going to happen with that squad with Aaron Rodgers? But that's a game we both get right to go to a fucking huge 13-3 week. Actually, you know what? I got to pop this back up there real quick so I can just show everybody our season totals. All right, so season total for me, 151, 117, and 3 for a 56.27% hit rate. Evo, 168, 101, and 2 for a 62.36% hit rate. Those are good fucking numbers. I like your numbers are insane to me. But hey, we had a great year. Bets hitting. We got the people some good fucking picks. We were hitting around that rate of what professional gamblers are hitting at. So, man, I feel very good about that. Any comments on the picks, the percentage before we move on to you just fucking jacking around under the table and burying the Packers?
Yeah. Both of us did really well this year. I do have a secret time that I'll go over here on the show though with you, Mike. This is less about the fans and more about you and me, Mike. So we ran a sports book here because Ohio didn't have it available for a time. So I was making a lot of picks for you. I gotta be completely honest with you, bub. I didn't make some of your picks, and I lied to you. Okay. I told you, I was still asleep, or I didn't see this text because I was like, this is not gonna hit.
All right.
And every single time I did that, they didn't hit if we had played them. So I saved you a little bit of money.
There we go.
I was like, dude, this is a bad fucking.
Oh, dude, I'm assuming it's some of those same game parlays that I took fucking flyers on. Like, I need this guy to get 14 fucking receiving yards.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe it happens, and I'll feel bad if you could have won some money. But every single one of them that I didn't put in, I was like, this is just a bad fucking move, and I'm going to be a silent friend here and not spend your money on this because that would be a rough one. But in the end, look, if you guys aren't following us for pick advice here, we're not going to be right all the time. I mean, Mike got 117 wrong. I got 101 wrong. We're going to get picks wrong. Everyone's going to get picks wrong. You're going to have weeks where the Texans go out there and beat a team that they shouldn't beat. No one can pick that correctly unless it's Back to the Future and you've got the sports almanac and you're able from the future and you're able to look back and make those picks.
From the fucking future, dickhead.
just not gonna happen. But when you're getting hit rates like 56% and 62%, that should be a little bit where you can trust us at least to have some knowledge of what we're talking about here. And obviously this season is over. We're going to look at this playoffs as kind of a new season for us. And our bets are probably going to be, I mean, I don't expect to hit anywhere near what I hit in the playoffs because I'm going to be a little bit more wild with it, especially being that it's Super Wildcard Weekend. I'm going to be a little bit more wild with it.
Super Wildcard Weekend.
Because anything could happen. But when it comes to betting on these NFL games, always bet responsibly. But next year, if you're not following us and not wanting to make a little bit of money on the side, you're doing it wrong. All right. Because when you're getting that sort of a hit rate, I would like anyone who thinks that these numbers aren't good to jump onto any of the other YouTube pages that the main premier YouTube pages that go over sports betting for the NFL. That's even and not to call them up, but your Barstool Sportsbook.
Yeah.
Love that show.
I love it too.
Your CBS Sporting Lines, any of those, go look at their hit rate. They are closer to like a 50 or 49% at best.
So the only other show that I would recommend other than ours, because they have a lot of different options, and I'm not trying to, trying to lift this up, Hammered Down. The guys over there at Pat McAfee, they do a really good gambling show. And they hit really good. I know nothing about soccer, but I made some money betting soccer last year following Gump and the boys over there at Hammered Down. However, Evo is absolutely right. Like the guys at Barstool, they're fantastic shows. Great. Maybe sometimes they don't hit as high as you would hope if you're doing a gambling show. I feel very good about these numbers, though.
They do a lot more fun content than really getting into the nitty gritty. Like I heard one of their guys going over this wild card weekend talking about the Vikings, their offense sucks, their quarterback sucks, their head coach sucks. And I was like, you haven't been watching the fucking games because those are like the offense and the head coach are what's good about the team. Yeah. So we actually inundate ourselves with a lot of football. Those guys are covering the whole gambit of sports. And while we do touch on all sorts of sports topics, we are in the nitty gritty with football. We're paying attention to this shit. So that's why we're able to hit on numbers like these. So if you want to make a little bit of extra papega on the side, next year when the season starts off, we're going to rerun this and show you what we did the season prior. So that way, hopefully you can have a little bit of confidence in what we're telling you. And hopefully we can all make a little bit extra money on the side.
Hell yeah. All right. So I'm going to drop this down. Great season of bets. We got some more bets, but we are not going to include that in that because we just talked about it several times already. It is a whole new fucking season when you get into the playoffs, and that season will not include the Green Bay Packers. Go off. Yes. Go ahead.
You know what I found has been one of the most refreshing and enjoyable things to do during the week. Normally I'll sit back and I'll watch YouTube videos or listen to Vikings based podcasts and stuff like that, just because I like to pay attention and be really into my team. Even if it is a little bit of self-capitulation, you're just jacking yourself off a little bit, listening to Minnesota sports beats writers talk about Minnesota sports teams and stuff like that. Even though I do listen, like the Vikings are very used to not being good. So you have a lot of very pessimistic beat writers and stuff for the Vikings. That's normally what I do during my work week in downtime is I will just listen to that sort of stuff. What I have found to be super enjoyable is listening to Packers sports talk radio and Packers podcasts, because the implosions happening over there are just liquid Viagra. It is so awesome to talk to them or to listen to them talk about, got to blow this up, got to blow that up. 90% are like, Aaron Rodgers needs to get out of here. I don't care if he wants to play another year. We need to get rid of him. He is the crux of our team. LaFleur is garbage. Joe Barry's garbage. And then you get them the arguments that have, I don't see these arguments. I mean, I've heard some of it in like New York sports media and stuff like that because it's very contentious. But to hear the arguments between like the broadcasters and the fans calling in, and they're just calling each other idiots and stuff like that, like they are going at it, and I love it. It is hilarious. MCDC's the fucking man. We had a conversation about this last week. My favorite, favorite coach is my coach because I love what he's done with the team. And then it's MCDC. And I know for you, it's MCDC.
MCDC number one. MCDC number fucking one. And then I'm up in the air on how I feel about Stefanski given the week. But I would take MCDC any fucking time. Bring that man in my locker room. Let him inject some fucking just MAN into your team. He is the fucking man.
He's nothing but catch lines. He's grit. He's big balls, Dan. You know, like the dude is awesome. He's a player's guy. He's that dude that you would want to go have a fucking beer with because I'm sure he's a goddamn blast. Oh yeah, there ain't no one beer with that guy. He's a fucking blast, man. Yeah. And he gets the guys motivated. And it's not just like, oh, we have a bunch of motivated dudes who are going to go out there and fucking lay a goose egg. No, he makes them competitive.
Yeah.
Every week. When the Lions started off the year looking real good, and then they fell kind of off a cliff, and then all of a sudden they are one of the more scary offenses in the second half of the year because he got them flipped back around and had a shot at getting into the playoffs there. If Seattle hadn't won their game, Detroit would have been in, and they were one of the scarier offenses to go against. The play, well, two big things for me from that game. There's a lot of big things. I'll go with three. All right, I'll limit myself. Three. Halftime, when they talked to MCDC about, oh, your team knew that they were eliminated. What's your motivating drive to win this game? And he goes, they're not going to the playoffs because we're not going to the playoffs. Or some version of that. He basically was like, if we're not going to go to the playoffs, fuck the Packers. They ain't going either.
Yeah, we don't want them to get it in.
Love it.
Like your team found out about not making the playoffs. What kind of motivated you? Well, if we're not getting in, we don't want them to get in either. Like there was that is the most, I think, real, honest answer that we've had from a coach on the sideline in quite some time. He's like, yeah, fuck them. I don't want them in. Like they're a division rival. Fuck these guys.
Yeah. And so that's one thing. Two, Aaron Rodgers, you saw more of his kind of being a baby on the field when he threw up that interception. He was upset at his receiver for not fighting to go get the ball, but the receiver, wrong route, or Rodgers threw the wrong spot. More than likely, the receiver on the wrong route. Yeah. And then he's bitching. Like, dude, you just threw up a fucking goose egg. To anyone could have picked that shit. And it's that sort of an attitude. Aaron Rodgers truly is one of the, if not the biggest reason why this team is bad. It's also one of the biggest reasons why they were competitive at the end of the year. But let's say Aaron Rodgers, beginning of last year, doesn't do all of his woe is me bullshit. And he says, I'm coming back to play. And he takes all of his rookie receivers down to Texas like Mahomes did and puts them through his own little camp and gets that rapport going with them. Yeah. They probably are a playoff team.
They probably mesh much better early in the season. And Christian Watkins probably has a much better start to his year. Came on really well at the end. But the beginning of the year, you could see that there was absolutely no fucking chemistry between those two whatsoever.
Him and Dobbs. I think Dobbs has potential if he figures his drop stuff out. They've got potential there. And that's what's scary to me is that if he comes back, they've got potential for those guys to be pretty solid receivers. But Aaron wanted to be about himself and wanted to go on his ayahuasca trips, wanted to fight for more money. Didn't want to be a part of the team up until like the middle of training camp. If he had actually invested himself in the team and look at himself as an extra coach and a mentor to these guys, because those rookie receivers came out and said, first couple weeks, I'm playing with the guy that I played with on Madden I'm scared of him essentially. Like, I don't feel like I should be in the same room. And it wasn't until later in the year that they actually felt like, oh, this is my teammate, not some god or something like that I'm playing around. He's got to be the one to go in there and break down that wall. If you want your receivers to trust you, you got to fucking have some sort of human connection with them instead of just bitching them out all the time. So Aaron Rodgers, big reason why that team's fucking in trouble. Not to mention the contract stuff. After the game, the way his comments and stuff were, it definitely looked like he was out. I don't know what's going to happen here going forward because you just don't know with Aaron. I really want to see. I want to see him done. I want to see Tom done. I want to see a new era of quarterbacks really be ushered in. You know, I wish Russ could be done too. So that way,
I think a lot of Denver fans want Russ to be done as well.
Absolutely. It just let's usher in a new era of quarterbacks and kind of let the old fade out. That's what I would want. But I don't know. I definitely after the game, I was like, it's got to be it. It's got to be done, right? And
he told the one kid that I can't give you the jersey. I'm going to hold on to this one.
Yeah, Jameson Williams. So I think he knows that option is definitely on the table. The press conference afterwards, he basically said, like, I don't know. I'm going to take time to make my decision. I wouldn't blame the team for wanting to move on from me. I wouldn't, blame, anything from happening from this point. If I'm the Packers organization, you've got to lay down the law for fucking once with this guy and say, hey, if you want to be on this team, we would love to have you back, but you have to be 100% in from this moment on through the rest of the season. We can't have this wishy-washy in-out. We need you mentoring our players. We need you doing this stuff.
And this is something that they've dealt with before with Brett Favre. Retired, not retired. Fucking retired, not retired.
If you want to be a part of our decisions on who we bring in and out, we can't have you questioning whether you're going to be playing or not. And go from there. And there is definitely a path for them to salvage the next year or two and become a competent, competitive team. I don't know if he wants to do that because he is too focused on himself.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Like,
the Packers fans apparently really want Love to play. They think that he's the next coming.
I don't know why, but
I haven't seen anything to make me think that he's that good.
Yeah, me either. All right, so we had some comments come in while this was going on, the Packer related. Joe Rockstar says the Packers would have just been eliminated by the 49ers. That is 100% accurate. The 49ers are really fucking good. Even if the Packers were really good, I would still pick the 49ers over the Packers just based on history. He says he knows you hate Aaron Rodgers, but he's a hot wife to an ugly man with a shit job. If they split up, legit, Green Bay has no legit options at quarterback. We just talked about it. Bryce Love, I don't think he's legit.
Jordan.
I don't think he's the guy. Oh, I'm sorry, Jordan. Jordan Love. Fuck did I say?
Bryce
Love. Oh,
I don't know. Probably some male porn star you're into.
That's it. And then, so he is a crazy hot wife. So he is kind of crazy. And then we also we're going to let the old fade out. Yeah. So Star Wars, I'm not a Star Wars guy. Like, they're fine, but I don't get the vitriol with the new trilogy, and I don't care. But I am ready for the old to bounce out, and let's usher in this whole new crop because we got 6 dudes on the AFC side that can all play with the Skylar Thompson. No, but Tua was in that realm. Like, he was starting to become one of those guys. If Tua were going to play, I would say we had 6 really good fucking quarterbacks on that AFC side.
I mean, we do have an exciting group of young players out there right now. Not to mention, we've got a draft class that is loaded with talent. You're expecting. I would think that you're going to get 2 to 3 of these, maybe 5, 6 guys that are expected to be really good. They're probably going to be solid starting quarterbacks in the league. But right now, you've got Joe Burrow, you've got Allen, you've got Mahomes, you've got Hurts, you've got Herbert, and you've got our boy down in Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence, man.
You're talking about a slate of really good quarterbacks who are just coming into their own. Some of them, I mean, Mahomes obviously has been there for a minute, but like this crop of quarterbacks is really exciting, and we're getting to see basically all of them here in the playoffs. And then you're going to bring in all these other new young guys, which could breathe some life into some of these struggling franchises. And it's not going to happen if you have your Russ Wilsons getting insane contracts in Denver. It's not going to happen if you have your Tom Brady's taking up space in Tampa, potentially moving to like a Las Vegas. You're going to have it if, okay, Purdy, we'll see. But you're not going to have it if Aaron Rodgers keeps on being wishy-washy up there in Green Bay and potentially staying there, potentially moving to another team. A bunch of these guys are not going to go to as good of situations as they could be because the old guys are going to still be sitting there, and it just doesn't drive the fucking NFL forward for what we want to see.
Yeah.
But and I love Purdy. I'm going to bring up issues that there could be this week.
I like Purdy as well, but he's not in that crop of young guys yet that is really coming into his own.
He has the ability to get into that crop, though, over the next couple weeks.
All right. So with that, let's hop into this week's Suuuper Wildcard Weekend playoff games. Eva, I'll let you take it from here, big dog. The NFL Super Motherfucking Wildcard Weekend.
Hell yeah. All right. So here in a little bit today, we've got games going on. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday games, which is great. Nice and spread out.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Game. Why are we playing Monday? Why are we playing on a Monday during the fucking playoffs? It gives a distinct disadvantage.
It does. As a fan, not looking at that, I like having these couple games spread out. So I like
3 days of football in a row. Yes.
I can have a multi-course meal here instead of having to gorge myself on one day. All right, first game being played this afternoon in Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, California. What Joe Rockstar is here to talk about. You have the Seahawks and the 49ers playing for an NFC wildcard spot. Line is San Francisco minus 9.5, over under of 42. There were weather concerns here. Joe brought up earlier that it seems like they're going to get a little bit of reprieve. He said it's not a deluge yet up there at Levi's. Possibly we get a little reprieve from the weather for the first, maybe the second quarter, but halftime expected to deteriorate fast, thunderstorms and high winds. Now, as we know, with weather and rain like this, that caters towards a run game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're going to look fucking just at the running aspect of it, you've got a Christian McCaffrey / Deebo Samuel situation versus a Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I love the fact that the 49ers have so many options because CMC is going to be the bulk of the carries. You can get Deebo back there for some matchup different things. You can hand him the ball. You can throw it to him out of the backfield, short dump offs. I think we'll see a lot of that, but that's what we always see out of the 49ers. But they also have Elijah Mitchell. Did not get hurt in the last game.
Surprising.
So he has the ability to come in there. He has the ability to come in there and spell those guys for a couple of plays. I really like what Kenneth Walker did this year as a rookie. Really helped rejuvenate that running game up in Seattle. But give me the 49ers rushing attack, especially with a Juszczyk out in front blocking, the best blocking tight end in the league in George Kittle. 49ers should be able to kind of dominate that running attack when we're comparing the two offensive running schemes there.
Yeah. So now when it comes to the playoffs, we talked about this. It is like a brand new season. We do have 18 weeks and 17 games of film on these teams, and you kind of know, or you think you know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that respect, you don't want to overcomplicate things, right? Don't overthink if you're betting on these games. On the other hand, there are reasons to think that an upset could happen. All right. So I'm going to give you both sides. Of course, the 49ers, one of the best, if not the best defense in the leagues. In the league, they've got a huge complement of offensive stars, like you talked about, BCMC, Kittle, Ayuk, Deebo, maybe even Purdy. All right. They've got great offensive players out there too. 49ers have beat the Seahawks twice this year, once with Purdy, once with someone else. Doesn't matter because Purdy's the future. But it's real tough to beat a divisional opponent
3 times.
It's real tough to win 3 times in the NFL. Now, I know that's just an easy tagline that people say a lot, but it's a tagline because it's true. You see this happen. You've also got Pete Carroll out there, and no knock against Shanahan, but you got Pete Carroll. He is familiar with the playoffs. He is familiar with having his guys fight and be underdogs. He's familiar with going to the Super Bowl. He knows what it takes to win. He even came out and said, it's unfortunate we're going against such a good team. Like, he knows what they're going up. But if you don't think that he's going to sidelines with 5 packs of gum, just chomping away and finding a way to make this a little bit difficult for the 49ers, I think you'd be a little bit foolish. I think that, and I'm going to try to do this as much as I can, I think the 49ers probably win this game. But there's a reason why you could see the Seahawks winning this game. I think that if you wanted to go money line, you take the 49ers as the safest bet. If you want to play the spread, maybe you take the 9.5 points because that is a big spread for a wild card game. Maybe you take the 9.5 points for the Seahawks here.
Yeah, so I made some bets earlier in the week. I did one with all the spreads, and I did one with money lines. And the safer pick is definitely the money line, 49ers. I did take them to cover the 9.5 in my other bet on another sports book. But given what the weather is, the safe play here is the 49ers on the money line, and that's what I'm going to take for the show. 49ers on the money line. The weather being a factor, I think it will be a tough, close game, divisional opponent, 3rd time they've played, and the weather will be a factor. So I'm going 49ers on the money line.
All right. And we did a lot of outreach this week on our socials to the fans of our page, the fans of our show out there, a lot of polls and things like that. And just as an aside from the game, we are super appreciative of everybody for participating and joining in and helping us build the show. Oh boy, here we go.
I'm going to put them on hold and let you finish your thought.
All right.
Hey, Joe Rockstar, you are on with the Lineman Lounge, but I'm going to put you on hold 1 second. Evo was right in the middle of a thought, then we'll bring you in.
All right. So we put up the poll for each game this weekend, and right now we got 18 votes on this game, Seahawks versus 49ers, and you've got 14 votes for the 49ers to win, 4 votes for the Seahawks to win. So majority of fans are believing that the 49ers will win. I believe that's probably where the majority of gambling money is right now. And I do like the 49ers to win this game. If I'm betting money line, I'm betting the 49ers to win. And that's probably the safe bet. I'll be unsafe because it's a new season. I'm going to take the Seahawks plus the 9.5 points.
Okay.
I think the 49ers probably win. I think there's an outside chance that the Seahawks win outright. I'll go with the Seahawks points just because we don't know what's going to happen with this weather game, and it's the playoffs. Anything could happen.
All right. So
all right, let's bring on Joe.
Oh, and I also had some additional numbers. I put those polls up on Twitter as well. We had 7 votes on that game. All 7 votes go to the 49ers. So, Joe Rockstar, you're on with the Lineman Lounge, brother. What do you got for us?
All right, hang on, Max. I'm looking for a safe place to put my homer at. Okay, so realistically, considering the weather thing, that's a real big deal for the Niners. It affects them. If you go back to last season, most of our losses were in bad weather. You had Green Bay come into our house and just destroy us in a monsoon storm. We had another bad game in weather. I can't remember which one it was last season. Then the first game of this season, that monsoon, we lost to the Bears. The Niners just do not play well, and I don't know what that's all about, but struggle. But of course, there's the addition of Steve and Elijah Mitchell back. I think that's going to play really well to our strength. But honestly, I don't think they make that spread. Not even close. I was thinking 13, not even 13. Probably, I'll go 14 because I'm not counting any field goals here. 14-3. That's probably what I'm thinking.
Well, so that's a low-scoring game, and that gets them the cover if it's 14-3. The spread right now is plus 9.5, and I do agree that the weather is going to definitely be a factor.
Shit, sorry. That's my homer hat. let's be realistic. 14 and probably 6.
14-6. Okay. So, I mean, I do expect this to kind of be a low scoring game. Weather will play a factor, but I think your guys' running game, the multiplicity of it is going to be able to overcome some of that stuff. Evo, what do you got?
Yeah, so it sounds like you both guys are looking at the under. The over-under here is 42, so that would definitely be an under hit. And I think that's usually a safe bet on Wildcard Weekend, is that you have a lot of unders in opinion. So if you're wanting to bet over-unders, betting the under here might be a safer bet. And like I was saying, Joe, I think that it's going to come down to Pete Carroll being able to get that team ready, and the weather being a little bit more of an equalizer, which can mean that spread of 9.5 points is something that Seattle can definitely beat. But if you just look on paper, 49ers are 100% better. I think the real scary thing is Nick Bosa going to come out and dominate and really solidify himself as that defensive player of the year. Right now on our vote that we have going, he's in second place with 33% of the votes, just behind Micah Parsons, and Sauce Gardner is right behind them with 17% of the votes.
Shit.
I am actually in agreement with Joe here. My defensive player of the year vote, if I had one, it would go to Nick Bosa this year. Micah Parsons had a great year.
Parsons, because he's a Cowboy.
But I think Nick Bosa really changed what they could do on defense. With him being as healthy as he was, this is probably the healthiest we've seen him in a while. He was dominant. If he's not getting a sack, he's getting fucking held. It was impressive to watch. So that's where I would take my vote. But I'm still rocking the 49ers this weekend. Even if, people think Micah Parsons is better, which he can do more things than Nick Bosa, but give me the 49ers and I would vote Nick Bosa.
Yeah. That's just not political anyway. I'm not really into that. But as far as the game goes, I have obvious concerns about the weather. I think the Niners are a much better team, but you know how it is any given Sunday, and it just it all up against us, I think. But I mean, I want to get back to Super Wildcard Weekend shit.
Well, actually, I got a couple of questions here for you, for Joe.
You guys are supporting that. It's horrible. It's a stupid decision. It's about greed.
Yeah, the 3-day game spread out it's so they can make more money.
Yeah. No, Joe, can you hear me?
Out of a good thing. Yeah, I hear you now.
All right, I got a couple questions for you. So you had a comment earlier about our poll for Offensive Player of the Year and why Christian McCaffrey wasn't on there, and so on and so forth. So I want to hear your thoughts on why Christian McCaffrey should be the Offensive Player of the Year versus the other talent on that list. And also you had some comments about the new playoff overtime rules if we end up seeing overtime games. So if you want to, this is your podium to kind of get your piece out about why you think that there's some issues there.
About the Offensive Player of the Year, but he definitely got snubbed on All-Pro. He got snubbed for the All-Star game or whatever you call it. McCaffrey's freaking come to the Niners and it's been ridiculous. I mean, he's had a historical season. If he was on the Niners the whole season, I think we'd be talking about him in those positions.
When you say historical season, what do you mean historical season?
Well, for him in the 10-game stretch, he's put down some ridiculous numbers, man. Look at his numbers. He's over 1,000 yards in just 10 games.
Okay.
It's like 1,400, I think. Look it up right now. I think he's over 1,400 right now. That's pretty extreme, I think, for a running back. For a single player on a team with so many weapons.
See if I can't pull up some stats here. All right. So on the season, he has 1,139 rushing yards. That is not just with the 49ers. And he has 85 receptions for 741 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns. And then I would have to do a different breakdown here to see when he was with Carolina.
Yeah, we'd have to take off the Carolina number, but I think taking off the Carolina numbers is still pretty good.
So 2 of his rushing touchdowns were with Carolina, 1 of the receiving touchdowns with Carolina. And if I pull out a calculator here, I can get you some of the other numbers.
So 10 games, 10 touchdowns. I don't know about 30 yards.
So with Carolina, he had 277 receiving yards. And he had 393 rushing yards. So you take away a little over a third of his total rushing yards and almost about a third of his receiving yards. So don't get me wrong, he's having a phenomenal season. I don't know if I'd say it's historic. I think you're talking definitely top 3 running back type stats, especially if you're looking at like a fantasy football PPR type of stuff. That's phenomenal. But I don't know if I'd say it's historic. I think it's now, if you want to add another context like you were, he's now on a team with so many other weapons that does tell the story a little bit better, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I guess the stats don't bear all that out, but whatever. I just think he should have been considered for, especially like the All-Pro team. I think that was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, All-Pro and the Pro Bowl, those are definitely kind of weird, limited things where you're going to have guys that should be recognized as some of the best that aren't just going to make it in because of fan votes and media votes that are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, overtime rules. Come on.
Overtime.
I've talked about this before. Look, you have 4 quarters to win the game. You didn't do it. All right. So now there's a coin toss, and you got to pit your defense against their offense or the other way around. And that's it. Done. I know it doesn't give us all the excitement of getting to see these quarterbacks throw the ball, and we're all offensive-oriented people. Well, most people are. I am not. I like a good offense as much as the next guy, but I don't think it's any more important than the defense. And it's a team sport, and your team needs to do their job on both sides of the ball, including special teams as well. So, I don't know. I hate the new overtime rules. Overreaction to what happened in the Bengals Bills year last season.
I love the overtime rules. I want to see the offense. But you know, Joe, that I'm an offensive guy. I love the offense.
I love a good defense too. I just like having the equity of getting to see both sides of the ball from both teams. I do like that. And I still think that we should have our kicking shootout.
Well, you did for 4 quarters.
Yeah. And now you're basically playing in a new game in overtime.
Yeah, I just don't see it, but it's overtime. It's like we're just trying to get a winner here. And if we keep, next thing you know, in a couple of years, we'll be complaining because both teams didn't get the ball enough times in overtime, or who knows what. They're going to be going to college where they're just trying to score from the 20-yard line and then moving it back 5 yards.
I like the field goal competition.
The field goal shootout is, to me, just the most exciting spectacle in sports, if they would ever do it. But
all right, Joe, you got anything else for us, brother?
What's that?
I said, you got anything else for us? What were you going to say?
Nothing except for that this wildcard weekend shit is just straight up greed and horrible. I think it's the playoffs right now that shouldn't be there.
I'm good with Saturday games. The Monday game is terrible, I think.
I'm okay with the Saturday. What I'm upset about is the number 2 seed doesn't get a whole lot of bang for getting a number 2 seed. You know what I mean? Niners would be on a bye.
It's just home field advantage.
Bills would be on a bye.
It's just home field advantage through the playoffs until the championship game, potentially.
All right, man.
Home field advantage is pretty bad for us. You got to understand, like right now, and I know this is just me bitching because of the circumstances, but right now the ticket price in San Francisco have dropped like a rock. He wants to sit in the freaking deluge. I'm winning the game.
I'm a big proponent of domes everywhere with natural grass. If we can find a way to get a dome everywhere in natural grass, that would be amazing.
I would absolutely look, if I'm a 49ers fan and I have an opportunity to go to that game, regardless of the weather, playoff football is so electric. I'm going to want to be out there in the elements with them. I would be all for that.
Yeah, I'm getting a fucking poncho and we're pulling out the whoopee and we're getting we're getting deep into that stadium and just fucking having a day.
Had I planned this out better, man, Christmas bonus, I'd be on the plane right now.
Yeah.
I'd be on my way there. But I mean, obviously you got to fill, I don't know how many seats are in that stadium. 50,000 people got to have that same attitude, you know?
Well, I mean,
so, anyway.
It sounds like you might be taking a shot at some 49ers fans right now.
Oh, I hate 49ers fans. I'm the only 49ers fan I like.
All right.
68,000 seats in that stadium.
68,000. We'll see.
68, yep. I'm sure they'll be out there in force.
Most of them are only fans when they're winning. Hey, guys. So good luck to the Vikings, by the way. I did pick them, I think, on my board.
All right. Yeah.
It's a scary pick.
Also rooting for the Vikings this weekend.
It's a scary pick.
Right. And good luck to the Browns figuring something out on the offseason.
Yeah, we're going to need it. So.
And talking to you guys next week for sure, one way or the other. Maybe not. Maybe I might be a turtle and just go right into my shelf for another off season. Come back in August.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you calling in as always. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, later, Joe.
All right, love you guys. Keep up the good work.
All right, thanks, brother.
All righty. So pretty much beat that game into the ground.
Yeah.
49ers, Seahawks.
49ers, Seahawks.
I think
taking the points, it's smart. I like taking the points. I do think the 49ers win this game, though. So I'm gonna roll with the 49ers.
I'm feeling the 49ers win, but I think that that for the show, I will take Seahawks plus the points at this point because the weather, I think, is going to be a big factor in this game. Pete Carroll and 3 times getting a win is just difficult. So I think that there is a chance, a better than no chance, but an outside chance that the Seahawks actually could win this game and be an upset, which would, I don't expect them to make it past next week. But all right, we'll move on to tonight's evening game versus the Chargers and the Jaguars being played in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville gets a home game in the playoffs. Yeah. Would you have thought this happened by the end of last season?
Not a fucking chance.
Right?
Not a fucking chance. I did not think they would be this good. It proves what a good coaching staff can do. That really coaching matters in the NFL. You can't just fucking hire any guy who has maybe been in a system. Who you hire fucking matters. And they hired a good one in Peterson. And they got rid of Urban Meyer. So there was a dramatic increase in the play of the defense. The offense became more dynamic, and we really saw Trevor Lawrence come into his own, man. He is going to be a dude in this league for a long time. He is really fucking good at football.
Oh, yeah. So the line for this game is Chargers -1.5, over under of 47. This is a Chargers team that decided to play their starters last week in a game that didn't matter.
Did not need to at all.
And it ended up mattering because Mike Williams comes out with a fractured bone in his back.
Yeah, broken back. It lost the lineman as well, I believe.
Yeah, and now I don't remember the exact stats, but I know that with Mike Williams out, I believe that the Chargers were 1-4. All right, earlier this year. Now, at the same time, Keenan Allen was out for a lot of that as well, so it makes a difference, and Keenan Allen will be playing. Now, you got Herbert, you got Austin Eckler, you got Keenan Allen. You've got those good guys on your offense, right? Defense, you've got another Bosa brother, should be out there playing.
Mm-hmm. Derwin James, I really like him at safety.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good pieces.
They are, but
I don't think it's gonna make a difference, though, man.
I'm gonna run this whole Brandon Staley train into the ground. Great defensive coordinator, terrible head coach, bonehead.
Yeah,
I honestly am a little surprised at the line being in favor of the Chargers here because I got the Jags on this one. I got the Jags money line. I got the Jags plus the points. However you want it, I got the Jags in this one. Playing at home, Duval's going to be out there. They're going to be going fucking nuts,
dude.
Because
Duval is going to be fucking lit tonight.
They don't get this opportunity very often, so they're going to be showing them what's up. Chargers got to fly across the country for this shit.
Yep.
And the way that the Jags have been playing. They're on a heater right now. They've taken down really good teams like Dallas. Like they've been competitive and they are getting hot when they need to get hot. Lawrence is one of the best up and coming quarterbacks out there. I really like the Jags to win this game outright. And you could take them plus the 1.5 if you want to. I'm sure the odds are better just for them to win outright though. So if you're looking to bet this one, I'd go with the Jaguars money line on this one. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I'm doing 100% the same thing. I am full in on the Jags money line. I have them against the spread. I have them on the money line in the two different parlays I got. And to me, so we talk about recency bias all the time. This is legacy bias because why would the Jags be favored in a playoff game? Well, if you've watched over the last 8 fucking weeks, the Jags are a better team than the Chargers. That's where the recency bias should be, is on the Jags. They have played way better football than the Chargers have. The Chargers have to fly across the country. Like you said, that makes a big fucking difference in your preparation. Just the amount of travel time. And now they're banged up because they played guys last week. I don't understand the line. I am hammering the Jags in this one to win. And if you are a little worried about taking the underdog, take the fucking points. You're going to still get good odds, minus 110 odds for the spread. So I am full in on the Jags. They have played like a far better team.
Yeah, and I don't know what the Jags' path is for the rest of the playoffs, but I am putting money on this game. I've bet every single one of these games money line in my personal life.
Yeah,
but the Jags, they're worth putting money on in this game. Again, it's surprising to me how close that line is. I kind of thought it was going to be more like Jags minus.
I don't understand.
Jags minus 3.
I don't understand why the line is that. Like, are they giving that much of an edge to Herbert over Trevor Lawrence that the quarterback play is going to make a huge difference?
Maybe.
Because I got to tell you, if I had to pick one of those two guys right now, I'm taking fucking Trevor Lawrence over Justin Herbert.
And I love Justin Herbert.
I like Justin Herbert too.
I'm probably doing the same thing. I don't know, man. I think if you want to call Herbert and Lawrence a wash at this point, you can. I don't think you favor Eckler a little bit. But the complement of receivers over Keenan Allen and the Jags on the Chargers, I'm taking the Jaguars receivers and tight end grouping. And then on defense, maybe I'm leaning towards the Chargers.
I almost see that as a wash. Maybe in the back end, I would give the Chargers the leg up on the Jags, just in their back end. Their front, the fucking front seven, though, I think it's pretty fucking close. Now, Bosa is a stud, but
you
the
add in
Jaguars
home field advantage,
so
though.
Good.
You add in home field advantage, and you add in head coaches. Doug Peterson versus Brandon Staley. I'm taking Peterson all day on that.
100%. Absolutely.
That I really, truly feel like this line should have been like Jags minus 2.5, 3.
Yep. Agreed. And that's why I'm fucking riding heavy with the Jags on the money line.
Yep. And maybe we'll hurt for it next week. All right. Moving into our Sunday slate of games, our first one up. We'll just get into it. It's the Vikings and Giants.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is being played at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. The Vikings have only lost one game there this year. They are a good home field team. Last time we played the Giants 3 weeks ago, took a 61-yard field goal to win that game. It came down to the end. The line is currently Minnesota minus 3, over under a 48. And I'm not going to say I'm nervous about this game. I feel the same way that I felt pretty much the whole season. We're going to have a nail biter type situation.
Yeah.
The Vikings are not as healthy as they were in that game, specifically on their offensive line. Our center, Garrett Bradbury, is going to be playing not great, but he's been all right. The thing is that Austin Schlottman came in. He's now out for the year as the backup center. Third string center, Reed, who has never played center before in the NFL. He's a better blocker than Bradbury. Not by a ton, but he's a better blocker, but he doesn't have the rapport with the rest of the line. He doesn't have the rapport with Cousins. There's been some timing issues because of that. And I don't know that he makes his reads as well as the center needs to do. So getting Bradbury in there is a uptick, even if it's just a slight one. The bigger thing for me is that our right tackle, Brian O'Neill, is out for the year with a partially torn Achilles. That sucks. We should be getting Blake Brandel back, who is our backup swing tackle. And he's held up pretty well so far this year when having to replace our left tackle. And Oli Smeka Udo is our third string swing tackle. I like the guy a lot. He's not the best at football, though. So if he has to play, that'll be rough. And on the flip side, the Giants have gotten healthier on defense since then. That's going to possibly be a problem. I think the key to this game for the Vikings is to stick to the run game. We had good success versus the Giants in the run game. We just went away from it way too quick. They went away from it when they didn't need to. KOC has said as much. We need to be willing to focus in on that run game. We know that we're going to be playing against a Wink Martindale defense that is going to be just littered with blitzes. That guy loves to blitz, and then he's going to see, oh, you've got weakness on the offensive line. I'm blitzing even more. So that's definitely scary. We're going to have to do a lot of shorter route stuff to get the ball out quick. What has worked really well against the Giants this year from other teams is a play action game. When you think that you got weaknesses on your offensive line, you bring the fullback in there, you bring CJ Ham in there, and you run a lot of play action. And then that'll keep them honest. It'll hold the blitz off to an extent. So that's going to be a big key to us. That the Giants defense has been terrible this year at guarding tight ends. Last game the Vikings played them, Jefferson, I think, had 15 catches. Hawkinson had 13. And the two of them combined for over 200 yards. Not to mention we just got Irv Smith back. Irv Smith played last week. Now we can run true 2 tight end sets with 2 receiving tight ends versus a team that has struggles against tight ends, big time struggles. If they want to double, triple Jefferson, we saw what happens with that last week when the Bears tried to do that. They just feed Jarris Wright and the other guys. Jarris Wright's really come in. He's the number 3 receiver on the team, but realistically he's the number 2 wide receiver at this point over Adam Thielen, who's more of just a red zone threat because his age is caught up to him. I think that our offense can definitely put up points against this defense, but that's the scariest matchup to me. When it comes to the Giants offense, we made Danny Dimes look great. Now, Danny Dimes is the typical nickname that you hear for him, right, Mike?
Correct. Danny Dimes is the way I know the man. I've heard some disparaging things, but his nickname, from what I understand, is Danny Dimes.
Have you heard what Saquon's nickname for him is?
No, I have not.
The Vanilla Vic. This came out a couple weeks ago. He called him
No,
the
he
Vanilla Vic.
didn't.
And I kind of like it.
It's very good.
It's a fun
very
nickname.
Funny. Yeah.
He's no Vic, but the guy likes to run. And that's what this team is a running offense. And it's able to happen because you got stellar performance from Saquon, who has fallen off towards the end of the year, and Danny Dimes. If you're able to contain that run game a little bit and keep them to shorter passes, I think the defense has a chance to win, especially if they're able to dial up more blitzes like they need to. They need to just be playing a lot of contain because you can't let Daniel Jones get out of the pocket and scramble. This is the thing. It's going to be another one of those close games where I'm not going to touch the fucking spread either way.
Me either.
I'm taking Minnesota outright because I have to.
Yeah,
my hope is that. So in the beginning of the year, KOC was dialing up a lot of very unique, tricky type plays, things that I haven't seen in Minnesota in as long as I can remember. And in the middle and last part of the year, we've really pulled that back. And a lot of people have been clamoring, hey, where is this? What's happening with it? I think that he might have put that stuff back in the bag with the intention of being able to pull it out now. My hope is that we haven't seen 4 full quarters from this offense, let alone the whole team. My hope is that we actually see them put all this stuff together. We actually see him pull out his bag of tricks again because it's playoff time. And I'm hoping that the Vikings burn the fucking ships. That needs to be our motto for the rest of this. Burn the ships. When invaders would go invade a new land, you burn your ships so you either win or you die. We need to burn the ships to make a run for it, because is the Super Bowl a possibility? Yes. Is it likely? Not at all. But we've seen crazier shit happen. I brought this up earlier. There's been 2 teams in like the past 20 years that have made it to the playoffs with a bottom 5 defensive scoring defense. And it's the Vikings this year and the Cardinals from 2002 or 2004, something like that, where they went in with a bottom 5 defense, but they had Kurt Warner, they had Larry Fitzgerald, and they went on a run and they made it to the Super Bowl and were winning at halftime until the Steelers were able to make a great comeback and win that game. It is possible. It is possible. We've seen other shitty teams like the Giants with Eli back in the day, who's able to go out there and
go on a fucking run
and barely squeak into the playoffs and then go and take it to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It's possible. I've got hope for it. At this point, though, I'm looking like I'm playing with the house money, because
you're playing with house money for sure.
I didn't expect the Vikings to be as good as they were this year. I expected to see an uptick, but not this good. Our offense is great. There's some tweaks and improvements that can be made, but it's like if our season ends and we get to focus on the defense and that defense gets to league average, we're going to be a fucking phenomenal team going forward. And I'm super excited about that. The only thing that makes me sad is there's this talk about point differential, right? So the Vikings have had the worst point differential by a 13-win team ever.
Yes.
I know that the Giants don't have as many wins. They have a worse point differential than us, and that doesn't get talked about at all. You've got 2 very different narratives from a Giants team that's 9-7-1, who, yeah, they are making the biscuits with not all the ingredients out there, for sure.
They're also playing with fucking house money right now.
Yeah. But the Vikings are a 13-win team, and that doesn't just happen. That isn't a fluke. That isn't a fraud. We went from an 8-9 team to a 13-4 team with arguably the worst defense in the league right now. Meanwhile, you have
in terms of yardage, you guys don't have the worst scoring defense. You have the worst yards allowed defense, though, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And you tell me who the frauds are here. We went from 8-9 to 13-4 with one of the worst defenses in the league, where the Packers went from 13-4 to an 8-9 team with a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
Who's the frauds here?
Okay, listen. So the Packers were definitely the frauds, and I'm on the same train with you for your Vikings. Like, I like them in this game. It's going to be a tough game. This is not the first time you guys have seen each other. Danny Dimes is not Mike Vick, but he has the ability to get outside the pocket and win outside the pocket, whether it's his arm or his legs. He's pretty decent on the move. His problem is when he's trapped in the pocket, he makes bad decisions or has terrible ball security. I think that you guys can get after him up front. I do worry about your offensive line and facing this Wink Martindale defense and all the fucking crazy blitz packages you're going to see, because Wink's pulling out all the stops. We're playing with house money, right? Both teams are. Wink has nothing to lose. He's going to send some crazy shit. Some of it's going to get home too. I could see this being a close game because that's the way the Vikings play all of their fucking games. They're all close games. I'm taking the Vikings on the money line. I need to see Dalvin go out there and be dominant. Now, the fact that you guys can run 2 tight end sets, that is more in line with the types of looks that Dalvin has seen in the past, where he's been incredibly successful running out of that fucking 21 personnel. So that is going to be a huge factor in this game. Dalvin's got to get going. I think you guys are a better team. You're going to have to do some things in the offseason to figure out what it is you plan on playing on defense, because I still don't quite understand the coverages that you guys are running in certain situations. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Very soft on, third and medium. Like, I don't fucking understand what the call is.
Ed Donatello runs the Donna Shell defense.
Yeah, and when you're facing thirds and shorts or something like that, you got to be able to suck up and play a little bit of press man, or at least give them a fucking a tight cover 2 look, something. But everything, I don't think I've seen your corners play anything tighter than 7 yards off the receiver, unless you're in a press 1. So It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. That is something that worries me about your team. I think you're good enough to win this game, though, especially if you get Dalvin going.
Yeah. Now, if you think the NFL is rigged, you got to look at Vegas. They're in on it.
I promise you, if the NFL is rigged, Vegas is 100% in on it.
Yeah. And if you look at that, 90% of the money right now is on the Giants to win this game, which means the Vikings are going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. 90% on the Giants. 90% of the money's on the fucking Giants.
When I looked yesterday, it was somewhere between 90 and 92% was on the Giants.
Oh my God.
Part of this is because the Vikings are favored by 3 points, when realistically this should probably be a lower spread than that.
I would say 2 to 1.5.
You also have a propensity of fans, when they are picking and betting in a wild card weekend, you have to have an upset. And this is the easiest upset for most people to pick.
The Jags. The Jags is the easiest upset.
But most people don't view that as an upset. Wow. A lot of the money there is on the Jags, but it's rightfully so. With this game, it's a 3 versus a 6. And everyone feels the need to pick one of those underdog
teams. Gotta have
teams.
one. It's like filling out your fucking fantasy football bracket. You gotta have a couple of fucking 11 over 5s.
You gotta have some of those surprises. All right. So yeah, I'm obviously gonna take my Vikings on the money line. I have to, and if I didn't have to, I still would, because I love my Vikings and I want to see the season keep going.
Absolutely.
So real quick here, that fan voting that we had on our page, I don't know if you can pull up what you had on Twitter. For the Vikings-Giants game, we had 17 votes, 12 of them for the Vikings, 5 for the Giants. I don't think we went over our last game there, which was the Jags and the Chargers. We have another 17 votes there, 12 of them to the Jaguars, 5 to the Chargers. So fans are picking the Jaguars to win that one on the Facebook page.
So we got Jags pick to win, and Vikings did not get. It's kind of weird. So I tried to create a little Twitter thread, so they were all there. You just stack up and just fucking vote right down the line. The first one got 7 votes, and then the other ones got 1. So not a lot of traffic on the Twitter. It's all right. We're gonna work on that.
All righty. Well,
but we did bring up. I did bring up some brackets, guys. If you are on the Facebook page, and I'll try to post this to the Twitter as well. We're gonna do a little bracket challenge. Fill out your playoff bracket. Who's gonna win? And we're gonna try to come up with some sort of giveaway, some prize for you guys, for whoever has the best bracket. Obviously, everybody does this with March Madness. Let's fucking do it with the NFL. That link is on the Facebook page. I'll get it posted to the Twitter as well. And whoever has the best bracket, we're gonna get you something. We're not sure what that prize is, but I mean, the way we do things around here, it's gonna be fairly decent, I'd say.
I would hope so. But if you want to do that bracket, you got to get it in quick. First game starts at 2:30 p.m. here in Arizona. We are less than 2 hours away from playoff football happening. So if you want to get that bracket in, you got to get it in quick.
Actually, I already posted it on the Twitter. I couldn't remember. I hung out with some baked goods the other night, and I did put it on there, but I forgot.
All righty. So our next game here, Tomorrow, we have the Dolphins and the Bills being played in Orchard Park, New York. It's a home game for the Bills. The line is Buffalo minus 13.5, over under 43.5. The line has moved a little bit since we found out that Tua is not going to be playing this game. Skylar Thompson is going to be your starting quarterback. Our boy Skylar Thompson, I'm a big fan of him.
I like Skylar. I like Skylar a lot, but
this
man, he has got a fucking uphill battle to climb.
The team is completely different. The Dolphins have just had a huge slide here towards the end of the year. And the Bills are, I mean, they're probably destined to make to the Super Bowl at this point with the Damar Hamlin news and stuff like that. If the NFL is a TV show, Bills are a very good team. They're a very good team at home. Dolphins went and played the Bills there at home, and they looked a lot better than they should. But that was with Tua. That Bills absolutely should win this game. 13.5, too much of a spread for me. Absolutely could happen though. But I'm taking Bills money line on this one. And it's a no-brainer to me who's going to be winning that game. And it's a no-brainer to everybody that jumped on our fan poll on the Facebook page. We had 36 votes on that one, 33 of them going to the Bills and 3 to the Dolphins.
I want to know who the 3 are. I want to fucking
Dave
identify
Weideman, the Vanilla Gorilla, and $20 is $20.
Oh, so it was all 3 of his accounts.
I don't know, but it very well could be.
Well, he is definitely a two-anon.
So we do have one of those 3 votes as David Weideman. I won't blast anyone else.
Dave, you get the special treatment because you are a big part and fan contributor on this show with your comments and all that stuff. So we're not calling you out, but we just want to make you feel a little bit special. I am totally against what you're thinking. I'm glad you're riding with the Dolphins because you love Tua. Tua ain't playing though. Yeah. Skylar is got the ability to do some really interesting things. It's not going to be enough. This is the Bills show for at least probably the next 2 weeks, I'd say. When we get to the AFC Championship game, there will be some interesting conversations. But this week and next week, I don't care who you line up in front of them. They're winning because they're a better team. They're playing with a very high emotional state, I guess is what you like. Emotions are high.
Purpose. They have an emotional drive and purpose.
Yes, absolutely. They're going to, at a minimum, I think, make it to the AFC Championship game. I have not filled out my bracket yet, so I'm not gonna give away all of that. But if we go off the picks that we picked at the beginning of the year, I mean, I got the Bills in the Super Bowl. Yeah. There's only one team that I think can knock them off. And
it's the Chiefs and the Bengals to me.
I think they beat the shit out of the Chiefs. I really do. I think it's the only team that can knock them off is the Bengals. I think the Chiefs are a little overrated. I think they're the third. I think they're the third best team in the AFC.
I mean, there's a fair argument towards that. Now, do you think that in this game, and we won't stick on this too much longer because it does seem like kind of a rout here.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that the Dolphins win this game?
Defense and special teams. They're going to have to go insane. They're going to have to score on defense or they're going to have to score on special teams if they want to keep this thing in a place where they can win it. It's not they have to play good. They're going to have to score on defense or on special teams, maybe fucking both, to give them any chance in this.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to see Josh Allen go out and basically have his worst game of his career. I'm putting it at like a 2% chance the Dolphins win.
Yeah, I'm not a lot of hope. I mean, the spread, this is a playoff game and the spread is 13.5. I mean,
and a huge part of that is Tua's health.
Tua's
the
health.
fact he's not playing. All right, moving on to our next one, last game for Sunday night. Ravens and Bengals being played in Cincinnati, Ohio. The line is Cincinnati minus 8.5, over under 40.5. These teams did play last week. The Bengals did beat the shit out of the Ravens last week. That was a team without Lamar Jackson as the starting quarterback.
Yep. And guess what? Lamar fucking ain't playing again. And so the Bengals actually did not play a good first half of football. They played very mediocre. That game was close for a while. The Bengals, I think, are the second best team in the AFC. The Ravens do not have their franchise quarterback, and I'm going to make a very bold statement right now. We might not ever see Lamar Jackson in a Ravens jersey again unless they franchise tag him. But I would be willing to bet they're going to trend towards looking for a suitor to send him elsewhere and possibly bring in another quarterback, especially in a draft class that is chock full of them. And you could get a ton of fucking picks for Lamar Jackson. This is Bengals all the way. And you said the line was, I got it right here, 8.5. Bengals cover.
Yeah,
they are that much better than this team.
That's fair for sure, especially being played at home there in Cincinnati. I think that the Bengals should win by 8.5. I'm just going to take the Bengals money line. Played a little bit safe with this one. But yeah, I don't see any way that the Bengals lose this one. They've looked so damn good second half of the year. They looked great against the Ravens last week. Lamar Jackson is going to play. He hasn't practiced for weeks. So let's say somehow he got out there on the field. He's going to be rusty. He's not going to be the same guy. It's a PCL injury. I've had that. Tore my PCL. Terrible. It's fucking really shitty. You ain't going to be the same runner for a while.
And that's what makes Lamar good is his ability to run and escape. And he's not going to have that, man. Like,
absolutely.
Even if he did play, but he's not going to play. He's not fucking playing this game. I think we've seen the last of Lamar Jackson as a Raven. I really do.
I'm not willing to be that brash with it just yet. I think that there is definitely a possibility that he comes back. They are going to franchise tag him. I don't think that they're going to be able to come to a deal with him because the way that the salary cap is jumping this offseason, he's going to be like, oh, that money that I was wanting to get from you last year, add an extra 40 mil, 50 mil on that, and make it all guaranteed for me, daddy. And I don't know that the Ravens can do that. I mean, they're going to feel a lot of pressure to do it because he is their franchise. Like, he is the face of their franchise right now. And going into the unknown of a rookie quarterback, it's really tough to get behind that. I don't know if Harbaugh will feel good about that, but we've talked about this previously. I think that this team works better with a more traditional quarterback. You can trade Lamar for at least 2 first-round picks and some change, if not more.
100%. Or a first-round pick and a quarterback, and I'm going to float the idea out there to you as well, because I've seen it. I don't understand it, but it works out money-wise for both teams. Justin Fields for Lamar Jackson. I've seen it straight up, but that's not enough juice, I think, to get Lamar. I think you'd have to throw in your one on top of Justin Fields to bring in Lamar Jackson. I kind of like that for the Ravens, which sucks because I like the youth and the possible upside growth that we would see in that Ravens offense with Justin Fields.
I don't like the trade. I don't think it's good for either team. I just don't think that quarterback style play is good for either team. If I had to pick a suitor that I think would be best, I would say, and this is heavily assumption based on Tua and Tua's health stuff, but send him down to Miami. I think that Lamar down there with the Tyreek Hill is a real scary combo. So I don't know. I think
that's going to depend on if Tua comes back and plays or not. Absolutely.
And that's I'm skeptical about whether or not he can. I think that he's going to want to. I think that it's pretty fucking unsafe, and we could see kind of the NFL world get shaken by him having to call it quits. But it's not out of the question at this point. But I think that they end up having to franchise tag him. I think that he says, I'm not going to play. They end up having to deal him. And someone's going to end up getting a running quarterback that is extremely dynamic, but not much of a passer. Then again, being in a better passing offense with a better coach like McDaniels, not that Harbaugh's bad, but I think that situation allows him to become a better passer than he is right now if he were to go down to like a Miami or something. I think that if he were to go to the Bears, I mean, I don't want to play Lamar 2 times every year.
Yeah.
But also, if
it kind of stinks, by the way,
I don't want to play him twice a year, but I like what that means for the future of the Bears as a Vikings fan, because they're going to be spending so much money on him. They don't have a great receiving core. They're already a run heavy team. So it's like, let's just defend the run. Fine. Yeah. Like, if we get our defense figured out, that's fine. Either way, Bengals for me, hard money line. I know the 8.5 for you, and I absolutely could see that happening as well. But I'm going to take the safe pick here and just take the Bengals. All right. Then we'll move on to our Monday game, this apparently contentious Monday game, which I get.
So stupid.
I get that y'all don't like it. I'm perfectly fine with it because my team isn't playing on Monday. So
yeah, exactly.
We have the Cowboys and the Buccaneers being played in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. The cannons are going to be firing for the Buccaneers out there in what could be Tom Brady's last game in the NFL, last game as a Buccaneer, or it could be one of many.
I think it's definitely his last game as a Buccaneer. Last game in the NFL, I'm not ready to make that statement yet.
So the line is Dallas -2.5. Dallas is favored over under of 45.5. And I think this is a real interesting one because the Cowboys are not good on grass.
This is the game that I have gone back and forth with. This is the one game I have a parlay with the Bucks, and I have a parlay with the Cowboys. This is one that I cannot hammer down, but I am going to have to at some point, and it pains me to do this because I know this is it's nonsense. But the Cowboys stink in the playoffs. They have for 20 fucking years.
Let's break this down. On paper, which team is better?
Oh, Cowboys.
100%.
100%.
Right?
Not a doubt in my mind. The Cowboys are a fucking far superior team.
Right. And now, that's it. That's what you got for the Cowboys. That's the pros that you have for the Cowboys.
That is it. Like, I don't...
Now, for the flip side, you've got the GOAT, who plays phenomenal in the playoffs, playing at home. Tom Brady has never lost to the Cowboys. The Cowboys' defense is playing noticeably bad on natural grass. You've got Dak Prescott looking like hot garbage. You've got the Cowboys who do not play good in the playoffs. You've got Mike McCarthy, who's a fat dumpster fire, fat fuck. You've got Jerry Jones, who wants to fucking tank so he can go out there and make his run at Sean Payton.
Oh, shit.
It just doesn't add up. I don't like the Buccaneers, but they're going to win this fucking game. I'm going to take in the Buccaneers plus the 2.5 points just because I can. Buccaneers coming out of one of the shittiest divisions in football and just barely squeaking their way in. They have a dog shit offensive line that the Cowboys should just eat their fucking lunch with, but they won't because they don't play good on grass. Mike McCarthy's a fucking idiot. They have a 12-year-old boy coaching their offense. Jerry Jones wants Sean Payton. We know this. Like, I think that's one of the head coaching things that hasn't fallen yet. I think the only way that McCarthy doesn't get fired,
he's got to make it to the NFC Championship game.
Got to make it to the championship game.
Yeah,
that's it. And even then, Jerry's crazy enough that he might fucking be wishy-washy enough on that. I mean, what Dan Quinn or whatever, he's being looked at as a head coaching candidate, so he's probably out the door. He's your next best option as a head coach, unless you really want to have your 12-year-old boy offensive coordinator become the head coach. But I just don't think that he's ready for it. They looked like dog shit against a division opponent last week with a rookie quarterback playing his first game ever in the Commanders. Yeah. I don't know what else is, like, you're paying a fucking Ewok insane amounts of money to play running back for you.
And he's not even the best running back on that team.
No. I got the Buccaneers winning this one. The Cowboys are a better team. If this was being played in Dallas, this is a different story. I think Dallas wins if they play in Dallas. But they're not. They're playing in Tampa. And I got Tampa winning this one. This, if you want your upset pick, this should be your upset pick. Even though it's not a wild card team in the Buccaneers, and the Cowboys record does not make them feel like a wild card team, but they are. I mean, Dallas was this close to having a shot at the 1 seed.
Yeah. Well, they fucking blew that.
Yeah.
So yeah. The only redeeming thing I can say about the Cowboys is that they are, on paper, the better team. But Dak has played like dog shit. I believe he is tied for the league lead in interceptions. Got fucking dog walked last week. by a divisional opponent. They are notoriously bad in the playoffs, and they're taking on a team that I don't think is very good. I thought they would be much better than what they are. I had them as my other Super Bowl pick. But it's Tom fucking Brady, and we're talking about the playoffs. Like, Tom is going to show up and show out, and he always finds a way to get those guys ready that are around him. Like,
that's the thing is Tom Brady is not enough to make his team, this relatively bad Buccaneers team, in the regular season. He's not enough to uplift them. When it comes to playoff time, Tom Brady is OFPs, his own fucking program. He will carry that team as far as he can on his decrepit old 45-year-old back. He wants to fucking make out with his kids one last time in the Super Bowl.
Why do I keep
going to
seeing
drive him.
Fucking pictures and videos of like these weird intimate positions with Tom Brady and his son? It's a problem. It's weird. I don't fucking like it.
It's fucking wonky, man. But either way, he's going to have enough juice left in those old saggy balls to beat this Cowboys team this week. We talked about America's game last week. I'm sure that he Botoxes those things. They're probably round like turtle shells. But last week, most watched final game in the NFL, Lions and Packers, because everyone wanted to see those stupid fucking Packers take a dive and MCDC take it to them. That's what we saw. This week, there's so much hate in this country for Cowboys and Cowboys fans. You gotta expect that a lot of people are going to be watching this game to try and watch the Cowboys go down and Tom Brady get one more. And then after that, next week, the Bucs will end up falling to whoever they play.
Well, they're going to lose for sure the week after. But you know what? I'm now convinced. I started the season with this pick. I'm going to back this pick up. I'm not taking the points. Buccaneers, money line. There's some extra money for you. Take the Buccaneers on the money line.
All righty. And then with that, that's your Super Wildcard Weekend.
Super Wildcard Weekend. Yeah, man, good show. Went a little longer than I expected, but we had a good call with Joe. We got into some other stuff. We talked about some of the polls, things like that. But it was I enjoyed today. I got some other shit I got to do. I had a shower, get ready for the evening. And by the way, I'm totally stealing that burn the ships thing. So the Cleveland State Vikings, they are very good at basketball. The women's team is very good at basketball. The men's team is okay. But I was just approached by the athletics department about doing a inside Cleveland State athletics spot every week that I'm going to do a little voiceover for. I don't even have to build the product. They're going to have the whole product and everything built for me. I just got to do a voiceover so this beautiful voice can be heard. But that burn the ships thing, that's pure gold. That's going right in the repertoire for the Cleveland State Vikings, who the ladies have a game today. I will not be at that game, but good luck to the ladies. They're riding a 15-game win streak.
I can't take credit for that fully. That is an actual old-timey phrase that has been used for a while.
No. I did not know about the old-timey phrase, so I'm going to take that and use that.
It's from 1519. The conquistador Hernan Cortez fucking actually burnt his fucking ships.
We're either fucking winning or we're dying.
Yeah. It is. You lay it all on the field. You leave nothing.
The fucking gut sack you gotta have to pull that maneuver is just. I'm stealing that line.
That is it for me with my Vikings this year. We got to burn the fucking ships.
All right.
Go for broke.
All right, guys, it's Super Wildcard Weekend. You got about an hour and a half before game start. Get those bets in. Get your picks in. I'm Mike. The man to my right is Evo. We are very excited, very happy, and cannot thank you guys enough for all the support that you guys show us. We're going to be back next week. We're going to be rolling all the way through the Super Bowl, and we're going to be bringing picks. We're going to have a little fun time when Super Bowl comes around, working on a couple of guests for Super Bowl week. We'll talk about some fun bets. That's always the time where prop bets get real big. So stick with us, hang out through football season, make some motherfucking money, because we've been doing a pretty good job, as you guys saw earlier, with all of our picks on the season. Thank you very much for all your support. You can watch us on YouTube. We also simulcast this show from YouTube onto our Facebook and our Twitter page. If you want to interact with the show, we have the Facebook group. We have Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to just listen, go check out any podcast platform. I promise you that we are there. If you find a podcast platform that we're not on and we need to be on there, tell me. I'll get us registered. So with that, we're going to get the fuck out of here. Enjoy your weekend, the long weekend. Evo, I appreciate you, big guy.
Same with you, man.
See you.
Yep. Eat pussy.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional.